Alright, so it's the next day. Pretty much rained the entire time. After I got the generator back and didn't get a whole lot done, but first thing this morning I'm going to go over the batteries, top them off. Looks like it's time to get some cleaning done. I'm kind of getting worried about some of these connections here. I think there might be a leak around the terminals. Get quite a bit of corrosion going on. Then afterwards, I'll go into the electrical box and tighten down all the connections. So I'm going to get that done. In case you're wondering, I have lead acid batteries and not like lithium of some sort. Is that they are dead reliable. You don't have to worry about keeping them a certain temperature. No worrying about them freezing in the winter, getting too hot in the summer. With lithium, if you don't keep them a certain temperature, they stop working if they get too hot or too cold. I think pretty much anything below freezing, lithium pretty much stops. And these guys have been working flawlessly from, I think it was like 107 degrees was the hottest it's been here so far. 107, 110. Clear down to negative 30 one year. We lost a little bit of capacity when it gets that cold, but they still produce power. And when I first got these batteries, checked them once a month. And then after a few years, they start using up enough. It's a brand new one. I forgot a cup. I'll be right back. What was I saying? Yeah, it's the only thing you really need to do with lead acid batteries. Top off the water every couple of weeks or so, and when this kind of stuff happens, you clean this up. I got some spray that I can spray on here, scrub it down, and then put some protectant on it, and it helps quite a bit. And topping them off, you just top them off for just a little bit above the plates in there. And when you top them off, you use distilled water. I belong to a Facebook group that deals with basically forklift batteries, and they use water that's been through reverse osmosis. I don't know if it's just better or cheaper, but when you're talking about batteries that are 4 or 5 feet tall, either one could be the excuse or the reasoning. But yeah, this is done. Next weekend I'll probably take care of the corrosion. We need to really clean this up around all of these, because I am guessing, I mean, there's liquid around these terminals here. So I'm guessing water is boiled up and going on these, so I'll have to clean them up really well and get silicone on there. Anyways, cap these guys off and we'll go into the electrical cabinet. Now we're going to the cabinet. Forgive the mess, a lot of little tabs here, little mounting tabs, ended up just coming undone. But yeah, I'll just go through all these connections. Just make sure they're tight. So we got these guys here. Alright, it's probably a good idea to do this stuff about once a year. In case anybody's wondering, EPEVer. That one's an 80 amp, I think. No, that's a 100 amp. This is an 80 amp charge controller, and this one's a little 40 amp. Make that little display. I need to get this guy. It was up here. But yeah, nothing really stuck to this. But looks like we're doing okay. We're not getting any much of a charge in anyways. 0.4 amps, 0.5 amps. It's cloudy, so probably end up running the generator later. But I'm going to close this up and we'll continue on. All right, so the next thing we're going to be doing is putting up plastic over the windows. And I've learned something about this stuff here. It's the pre-tape. It's got the strip of tape at the top. I do not recommend this. We just happen to have a bunch of it still. Switching to regular just painter's plastic and using black duct tape. But this tape here seems to come apart or like lose its adhesiveness about halfway through the winter, so we end up cutting it off and just putting duct tape on there anyways. So, like I said, we just have this, so we're going to go ahead and use it. We bought this stuff here. It's the same stuff, but it's supposed to be max strength, but got it on clearance. Take that information, what you will. We'll try that out this winter. But yeah, we'll get this stuff on next. It's still raining outside, so not a whole lot can be done out there. Here we go. This is what this stuff looks like outside of that. This isn't. This is just the end. It's actually taped up here still. But yeah, that's what it looks like. Yeah, definitely don't recommend it. Maybe it's just us and like the metal window frames, maybe vinyl be okay, but yeah, don't recommend it. Let's go ahead and get some of this stuff on. Okay, so here I am doing the putting the plastic on the inside of the windows. This one's the dining room window. Already did the living room. The first thing I do is tape off where the movable part of the window meets with the regular window, then around the frame, because there's always a nice gap in between the two. And camper's made in the 80s, so the seals are pretty much gone around the windows. Make sure all the surfaces are fairly dry, at least dry enough for the duct tape to get on there and stick. You say hi to the cat in the window. That's the porch you see out there. And then I put up some of the insulation. That's the 1.5 inch insulation, reflective backing, try to reflect some of the heat in. We don't want to cover up the whole window just because we do like some light in there from the outside. It can get really depressing if you have everything covered up.
And trim off all the excess. And here I have the plastic that we got on clearance. And don't know for everybody else, but to me, this right here is why it was on clearance. It's got really thick plastic over the tip, or over one edge, and it does not stick on the windows that we have. It may be perfect for like flat wood trim around like house windows, but for us, it didn't stick at all really. So we decided that we're just going to be cutting it off. And for the most part, we do that anyways. After buying them for a couple years, we've realized that even the stuff with the good tape on the top just comes off about halfway through the winter. So we just end up cutting off the stuff that we've had laying around for the past year or so. And then, like I said, we found these, 2 of these rolls on clearance, and we're not even messing with it. We just take that off and put duct tape in its place. Put a couple pieces of duct tape in the corners to hold it. Take it down, make sure it's nice and big enough to cover everything. Trim off the top access. And what we try to do here is we try to get it to the window frame and not to the wall, because it's duct tape and I'll probably just take all the paint off. And we take the duct tape, and it's a 2-inch roll. We go ahead and cut down the middle of the duct tape so it's 2 1-inch strips. And it makes the $10 freaking roll of duct tape last longer. And tape in the middle, make sure it's nice and tight there. Cut off that. Same thing with the other side. Tape it all up. And do the same for the sides. And touch up the corners. Make sure it's all nice and sturdy on there. And there you go. Now we got the other windows here. We, like I said, we did the living room window and the kitchen window. And that's what we do for the inside. All right, and so the last thing I do for the winter, and I try to hold off as long as possible, and that's to empty the water tanks. I try to hold off as long as possible because these are our firefighting tanks. We got our little pumps on top, hoses. But this week, we're supposed to get quite a few days of, I should say quite a few nights of, freezing temperatures. And the last time I held off this long, one of the fittings down here ended up freezing and breaking. So I don't want that to happen. So it's time to get these tanks emptied. I really hate doing this because to me it's just a huge waste of water. We have right now 3 of these tanks full at 275 gallons apiece. So that's what, 2, 4, 6, 725 gallons? Something like that. But anyways, over 700 gallons of water is just going to be dumped. Now, luckily, it's been raining a lot, and we have snow in the forecast, so chances of anything happening, knock on wood. Actually, there's this piece of wood over here. Hold on. There we go. Good. Knock on wood. Chances of anything happening are pretty slim, so I feel safe to go ahead and empty these guys. I was hoping I would have time to make some kind of a pond or like a cistern or something like that underground where I could empty these and hold the water till next year. But that didn't happen. Maybe next year, after we get the well, I'm hoping there's enough money left that we can get one of those mini excavators, those little Chinese made things. You can get them at auction for $3,000 or $4,000. That would make work on the homestead a lot faster, a lot easier. But that's next year. Hopefully we'll have the well in by April. I'd love March, but March is pretty muddy, and who knows if they'll be able to get equipment out here. But anyways, here we go. 275 gallons. And the other thing I need to do is get the hoses laid out, get all the water out of those, because you don't want water to freeze in the hoses. They'll split. Yep, the pump's empty. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this guy going, get it laid out, so we can drain all the water out of it. Not the best quality of hose, so it's got kinks. And just roll it up here. Gonna put it back on the water tank after it's all done. Now, if anybody was curious, the well, been saving up for a little while. Figure it's going to cost right around $20,000, which, it's solid rock out here, so it's going to cost quite a bit to get the hole punched. And our nearest neighbor, which is what we're going by for depth, is 405 feet, or 415 feet. But we're figuring 20,000. There we go. So that's the goal for the well, anyways. Ideally, it would be about half that. There we go. You can probably see me better. Ideally, it would be about half that. But we're doing worst case scenario. Many of the wells around here are around 200, 250 feet. So if it's that deep, close to half the cost, then, we'll have enough money to get one of those mini excavators and start digging the hole, or digging the hole, yeah, the hole for the septic tank and get that all set up. But anyways, that's pretty much what we got for winterizing. I got 2 more tanks to do, so I'm going to go ahead and get those going. I won't bore you with that. But if you're curious about what we do out here on the homestead, and want to see more content, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And until next time, keep kicking up dust. Faux Shizzle.